I've been seeing in a lot of posts people making this comment that humans are not designed to be alone, or we're designed for connection, we crave connection, we all need to be together. And though there is some truth in that, there is also a lot of truth in the fact that we are very much in need of alone time to do our deepest spiritual work, to awaken, to move through stuff. And if we look at some of the great gurus, spiritual leaders, any one of them has gone on a solo journey, whether that's sitting and meditating on top of a mountain, or whether that's eat, pray, loving it, as Elizabeth Gilbert did, whether that's being the Dalai Lama, whether that's going into a Vipassana, whether that's exploring plant medicines, whether that's climbing Mount Everest. These solo journeys, these solo expeditions that people take them on themselves on in their life are really often the pivotal moment, the turning point moment for them in dissolving their ego, in having some kind of spiritual awakening or journey. What is required is silence, is stillness. Hey, Kelly. Hey, Imogen, Dugan. Great to see you all here, Jax. So what about you? Have you had in your life a moment where stillness, aloneness, whether it was after a breakup, whether it was purposeful through something like a Vipassana or a retreat that you took yourself on, have you ever truly been alone? And how have you found that experience? Because for a lot of us, post-divorce, the lockdown, COVID may be your first dance or flirt with aloneness. But if you have had that experience, for me, being single, 44 years, probably for 41 of those, has taught me to be with myself. But I wouldn't say that I always loved that, and I would say that I resisted it. I used to be a real party person, had to have lots of friends. I was a friend collector, had to always be doing something, always be going somewhere. And, 4 or 5 years ago, when I feel like I had what I would call my spiritual awakening, I really was called to stillness. I was called to travel and be alone. I had 3 months in Hawaii, 5 months in Mexico, studying with shamans and Mayan healers, time in Peru. And all of those experiences, I feel in many ways, were training me and preparing me for COVID and this moment. And to serve others, to help them to understand this experience. And one of the things, as I said on the title of this video and at the beginning, I find very frustrating to see a lot of posts commenting that humans are not designed to be alone or that they crave connection. And as I said, though there is some evidence to support that, and I wouldn't say you want to be alone your entire life. Hey, Kirsty Lynn, Christy, Kevin, good to see you all here, Vaughn. So though there is truth in that we do desire connection in other people, there is also truth in how powerful and potent and how much of an awakening you can have when you get still and listen to yourself. Because several things happen. One, you start to hear beneath the ego chatter, the truth in the stillness. Truth lives in the stillness. So when you get quiet and still and you start to notice all your patterns, you notice how you want to check out, how you don't want to be alone, that maybe you have to always do something. Even when you're alone with no one else around, you might find that you have to be busy, you have to be painting, you have to be cleaning out a closet. And so you start to notice your behaviors and go, oh, wow, like I'm really struggling with this. I'm really challenged by just having nothing to do. Maybe one of your deflection defense mechanisms for a long time has been in busyness. Maybe by being busy, that's one of your ways of armoring up. You don't have to be alone. You don't have to accept the truth of being single, for example. I've had that awakening many times. Hey, Shane. Hey, Melissa. Good to see so many of you here. They're popping up so fast, I can't keep up. So when we start to get still, the power and potency is we start to connect to ourselves. And often the first thing we want to do is disconnect from ourselves. That feels uncomfortable. It can feel scary for many people. If there are truths that we've been ignoring, whether it's trauma from childhood that we've ignored, whether it's a bad relationship that we're currently in, whether it's things that are in our life that we're not happy with, conversations we haven't had, the stiller you get, the more these things are kind of bubbling to the surface and are in your consciousness, and you have to do something about it. So it can feel uncomfortable to sit in the stillness. The beauty of it, I guess, and my experience of it that I want to share is when you get past that, when you can get to a kind of peace with the stillness, oh my gosh, it is the most blissful, magical, divine, orgasmic, there's not really a lot of words in our language to describe the kind of connection you can have with yourself when you get to a place of surrender to this stillness, when you can start to play with whether it's meditation, and it doesn't have to be quiet meditation. At first, it might be that you use an app and you do a guided meditation. I love the Insight Timer app. I love Sarah Blondin on there. If you search her name, Sarah Blondin, inside the search bar for the Insight Timer app, it's like liquid honey poetry in meditations. And she helps you connect to this higher part of yourself, this self that is wise and pure and loving and not judgmental and out of your ego. And just to be with that part of yourself for moments in time. At first, it might be 1 or 2 or 3 moments and windows of 5 or 10 minutes. Hey, Rick. Hey, Marie. Shadow. So who has had this experience? Put an emoji in, or put your hands up. Who is having moments where they're able to connect to the divine, where they're able to connect to source, to themselves, to come to center, and they're noticing that this lockdown is providing more and more of those moments, and they're seeing the power in actually disconnecting from society, disconnecting from other people, disconnecting from family. I saw a lady talking in one of the shops the other day, and she said, "Oh, I'm not sure if I'm ready for life to go back to normal. I don't know if I want to be going back to the harassed, fast pace that I was. I don't know if I want to see people every night of the week and be doing dinner and having to see family every weekend and filling up all of my time." And I just sort of, I wasn't part of the conversation, so I was just listening, and I thought, that for me is so beautiful to hear, and I hope that more people have that experience. I hope they realize that they were filling up every moment, and they don't have to, that they're not obligated to these expectations and demands of family and friends, that they can listen to their own inner knowing. Planning on big changes due to the stillness, Sally says. I wouldn't have it if this didn't happen. Oh, what a gift, the silver lining. And so, I heard someone comment the other day that having that quiet time is a privilege. And absolutely, because not everyone has been able to financially relax and be able to have that experience. Everyone is getting different medicine during this time, and I'm very conscious and aware of it. But if you are someone who can use this as an opportunity to get still and to get quiet with yourself, I just want you to notice, to check in with what awareness starts to come up. Notice when you try and distract and be busy. I operated for many years from 100% my masculine. My masculine was driving the show, and masculine is the achiever, the driver, the pusher, the hustler, always being busy, working 14-hour days, 7 days a week, just go, go, go. And when I had my spiritual awakening and had a whole series of things, that's a whole other video, happen, I started to swing completely the opposite way and really come into my feminine. And the feminine, in many ways, was about, I just want to see, Sophie said, "Oh, I'm so sorry your brother passed away, honey. I'm glad you've been able to sit with the feelings and allow them to come up. But beautiful. I want to come back to that point. So with the feminine, you'll notice that when you are operating from your feminine, it's a place of flow. It's a place of serendipity. It's a place of creative downloads and a connection to all that is around us. And I'm now finding, years later after that experience, I'm finding, how do I blend and integrate the two? How do I find ways to have moments of busyness and masculine, but also stay in the feminine in terms of when I want to create, when I want to be busy, I also first want to come to center and tap in and feel into, is this in alignment with who I am and where I'm going and what I'm doing? So Sophie, who recently lost her brother, was talking about how this time has offered her a stillness. Now, I had someone I was talking to yesterday who's going through a divorce, and similarly, with it happening at exactly this moment in time, in a way, if this had happened previously, she would have been busy 24 hours a day, planes, travel, speaking, all of that. Now she was able to make sure that the kids were okay. She was able to be home every day through the process for the 2 months, be able to work out new homes for both of them. And I think that for Sophie, with the dealing with grief and death, I mean, how many of us have to just push it to the side? We've got 2 or 3 children, or we've got work, just a million things going on, trying to survive, and we don't get to process that grief, and it has to be put to the side and dealt with later. So absolutely, there are many things that we're now able to fully feel into and process if we give ourselves the chance. Now, that feeling it comes back to what I spoke about earlier. And for those who are just joining us now, Brittany, Sandy, Deborah, so good to see you. You can go back and watch the replay of this, because a lot of what I really wanted to share with you and impart with you is at the beginning of this video. But what I want to say is feeling our feelings starts with self-trust. It can be scary at first for many people, particularly if you have trauma, to fully feel stuff in our somatic body, and you don't even know that that's an issue for you. I wouldn't have known 5 years ago that I felt scared to fully feel stuff in my body, because I was so disassociated and disconnected from myself and source. I was numbing with food, sex, drugs, alcohol, you name it. So I wasn't able to fully be aware of that, because I wasn't associated and connected and grounded in my body. And when I started to be, it got scary. It was really hard to fully feel into stuff. So this isn't easy, but what I will encourage you to do is to trust yourself, to trust your process, to trust what this time, the medicine that this time is providing for you individually, because it's different for each of us, and to allow yourself to have moments of sitting in quiet, just taking a few deep breaths and closing your eyes and feeling into your body, into any tingling or sensations, almost doing a body scan in just 30 seconds. That can be enough in the beginning to just be all you need to do to connect yourself, to put your feet on the ground and to take a few deep breaths with your eyes closed, to breathe out any tension. Start with that.